So maybe that explains the overreaction. I don't know, but over two-thirds of the foreign population were kicked out, which rounded the percentages, I believe, up to 56%. No, 53% Kuwait, um, from 27. And I mean, those people who tried to come back just were told no, and some of them were. And from that point on, it got extremely difficult to get a visa. Yeah, it was essentially a population quota, which not technically you can't technically do that, but you can manipulate it with the visas and your requirements for visas. Um, yeah, and I mean they did all this other stuff like basically paying Kuwait men to marry Kuwait women, like 14,000 USD to get married. And if you're down on your luck in Kuwait, then and you're a Kuwaiti, then there's a good way to deal with that. And it just basically they just really just took everything away from the foreign uh, the foreign citizens. I mean, they may not be Kuwait, but they're still citizens, and they took everything away from them. Um, there's a lot of persecution, a lot of xenophobia after the occupation, and the Palestinians got it the worst. I'll tell you, the Palestinians, I believe there were 400,000 pre-invasion, and there are about 30,000 after, and that's not Saddam Hussein didn't come in and stomp all over his or Hussein, sorry, Hussein didn't come in and stomp all over his own people. Uh, uh, some of them did die in the occupation, but that was a lot of them fled from the Kuwaits, from the government, from the monarchy. The monarchs did not technically, they didn't technically send people and technically say go persecute the Palestinians, but they enabled them. They basically said, they said things on the news like the Palestinians could very well be, there could still be some of them working for Iraq. Just they turned it into a witch hunt, and I mean there was torture, there was all sorts of unpleasantness that went on, really, really unpleasant things that went on, and the monarchy just let it happen. Um, this is really, really disappointing because for a while, especially with the particular monarch I mentioned, who he created a democratic platform in Kuwait. He set up this really amazing system that basically set people for life, and it was easy to do it because of how much extra they made and because of how small the population was. And I mean that kind of selflessness is really just something special, and it's disappointing to see Kuwait go the way it does now because it gets worse. Sorry. Yeah, and there's our hater of democracy right there. He's a pretty popular guy with the people. The people loved him. The assembly didn't love him, but like we've already said, the assembly really wasn't representative of the people. He had over 40 children apparently, and no one knows how many wives he had. Apparently, they lost count. I don't know. Um, yeah, that oil will do it for you. Okay, so then essentially a lot of things happened. It was a bit of a mess, and so you have this demographic. It makes up a large portion of your population, and they're not happy. They are not happy with the way you've treated them. They're not happy with the way things have gone in the past. There's a lot of unresolved issues there. Um, so the smart thing to do would not be to announce a food bonus. No, no, no. So you announce that you're celebrating the 20th anniversary of being free from Iraq, or your liberation from Iraq, whatever you want to call it. You announce that, and it's going to be a party. So let's just give everyone free money. Let's just give everyone thousands of dollars. Let's just give everyone food for a year. You can do that, right? Oh, but not anyone who's not technically Kuwait, because they might have been there, but oh yeah, and we did kind of screw them over, but we're just not going to cut them in on that. But we're going to rub it in their faces, real nice and obvious. You can probably imagine that did not go over well. And so when the protests started, they were dealt with brutally because apparently stateless persons do not have access to rights, and therefore you can treat them however the heck you want. Um, okay, so that was January. That was in January of 2011. In June, this particular kid, a kid named Basim, an Egyptian kid, foreigner, was in class, and like kids often do, he had a question, and his question was, "Teacher, why don't they have a revolution in your country?" Innocent question, because obviously he's Egyptian, and they just had a revolution in his country. So the logical thing to do would be not overreact. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened to him at all. He is accused of inciting a revolution. He is expelled and he is banned from the education system for life. 10-year-old kid, Basim, mastermind, apparently. Just utter mastermind. Because it worked. Yeah, his little expulsion, it made everybody mad, including, by some miracle, the Kuwait population as well. And that's really where a lot of the protests started. So, yeah, that's essentially. It's really disappointing because Kuwait really could be the perfect non-democratic entity. It really could have been, but it, the circumstances changed, and I guess the circumstances always change. And in the face of that, the regime couldn't regulate itself. It just kept going down this downward spiral where we basically just keep isolating and treating this group that's vital to our survival in a really terrible fashion and expect it not to blow back on us. And maybe if it was a democracy and if there was a opposition party, that wouldn't have happened. Maybe they would have been able to see that and pull out of that. It's difficult to say, but I honestly believe that's why Kuwait is where it is today, basically at a standstill between its people and the government, is because they disenfranchise people and they abuse them. And as wonderful as Kuwait looks from the surface, it is just like every other Middle Eastern authoritarian government that abuses its power. It doesn't, napalm. It doesn't napalm its people. It doesn't bomb them necessarily, but it um, but it doesn't treat them well at all. uh, and it doesn't think that it's doing anything wrong by doing that. So, really, is it worse to die, in machine gun fire? Is it worse to see, live your entire life and watch people get things, just showered with things, showered with benefits, showered with aid? Oh, you got married? Here's $14,000. Oh, your dog's sick? Well, here, why don't you just take it into the vet for free on us? But yeah, not if you're a Bedouin. So yeah, that's my presentation on Kuwait. Hopefully, I didn't stutter too much or talk for too long. Thanks for listening, and if you are listening, I hope you get better soon. All right, and I will see you for the final, I guess.